Is this the best Windows laptop for $500 in 2017? Coming up right now. Let's go. What is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. This is the Acer E15 7th Gen KB Lake Edition. This has been my laptop for about 8 months now, and I think this might be one of the better $500 to $600 price range laptops that you can buy today on a budget. It's extremely underpriced for what you get in this guy, and you can see that it is a plastic build, so this might be contributing to the lower cost of this laptop. It does have a little bit of flex on the display. But taking it off to the left, you can see we do have two USB 3.0 ports. We also have an HDMI port, a VGA port, which is kind of a legacy thing. We also have an Ethernet port right here, as well as a USB-C 3.1 port for future I/O. Also, we do have a fan design up here next to the USB-C. Over on the right, we do have a 3.5mm headset jack and a USB 2.0 port. Also, we do have an optical slot where you can insert a new SSD, or you can put an optical drive in there as well. Also, you do have a power supply up here on the right, so all the ports you would ever need. Now, opening up the laptop, you can see it's not the prettiest laptop in the world, but it's a very functional piece indeed. You might be asking yourself, what about them specs on that device? What does it offer? Well, Acer was nice enough to include these specifications right on the laptop itself, making it easy for you guys to understand. GDDR5 for better graphics performance, 3.1 USB-C, this is a Type-C connector, ultra-fast wireless on here, Acer Extra Color for a better display experience, True Harmony for sound. Also, it does have a GTX 950M with 2 GB of dedicated VRAM, 8 GB of RAM. I updated this to 16 gigs and a 256 SSD. Now, that trackpad on this Acer is extremely large, one of the largest trackpads I've seen on a lot of Windows laptops. Don't give you the largest trackpad. Now, the MacBook is setting the standard for the largest trackpad, but that might be a little bit overkill. And this is very clicky, and you can click in most parts of the trackpad, and it still does work. So very functional. I think if you buy this laptop, you're gonna enjoy the trackpad on here. It does have Windows driver, so it works really good in Microsoft Edge. A little bit choppy in Chrome, but it'll get the job done. So in terms of accuracy, I've had no problems pinpointing things, opening applications. The trackpad has been responsive, the arrow never froze, nothing like that. So I think you're gonna be just fine if you decide to pick up this laptop with the trackpad. Now, what about that keyboard experience? So typing on the E15 has been a pretty enjoyable experience. I mean, the keys are a little bit flat. It's not the best feeling premium keyboard ever. It does have a little flex, but it does have pretty satisfying clicks, and it's well spaced out. So I do enjoy the typing experience here on the E15. Now, it does have pretty good travel. You can see right here, not the most travel I've ever seen, but enough travel to make this enjoyable typing experience. You can see a little bit of flex in the middle of the keyboard, but you can see it's very well lit here. And what's nice is that it does have a number pad right on this laptop, and that's really good for business users as well as college students who need that number pad for doing stuff in their math class or when they're writing papers and stuff like that. Now, it does have only one level of backlight, but backlight being on a $500 laptop is pretty acceptable, and I will take it. Most laptops don't give you that at this price point. Now, that SSD really contributes to an extremely fast computer here. You can see this thing will boot up from cold boot to on in 8 seconds. You can see right here, that is incredible for this price point. Now, I did upgrade this to 16 gigs of RAM, so that might have played a little bit into this, but that's mostly the SSD making it fly open like that. Now, this display on the Acer E15 is a little bit washed out. It's a 1080p panel, comes in at 141 pixels per inch. It looks plenty sharp on a straight viewing angle, but when you go ahead and tilt this guy, you definitely start to see where this display is not really the best in the business, and it doesn't get super bright either. It's under 300 nits, so definitely a decent display, just not amazing here. And if you get really close, things do tend to get a little bit washed out here. I'm not gonna knock it too much because you can easily hook this up to an external monitor and really have a powerful laptop here hooked up to your monitor. Administrator. So overall, Windows 10 is really great on here. I have the Creators Update installed, and it runs extremely fast here on 16 gigs of RAM, as well as the combination of an SSD and the dedicated graphics card. This thing flies, even though it's a budget graphic card in the 950M, it still flies and does everything you would need and handles it like a champ. This feels like a premium laptop in performance. Now that camera up there is a VGA quality, and it only shoots in at up to 720p resolution, so it's only going to be suitable for things like Skype calling. Right there you can see 720p up to 30 FPS, so I wouldn't recommend this for more than Skype calling. Now, in terms of benchmarking, this thing did bench pretty decently for a budget laptop here at $500–600. This is coming in at 3526 on the single core for the Geekbench, 7574 on the multi-core, so definitely better than smartphones and tablets here. And this does have a 7th gen Core i5 Kaby Lake with a 950M GTX, and this is basically telling you that you're going to be able to run pretty much everything in the Windows App Store, and you could definitely run some third-party games like GTA on this system on low settings. It will run on that card. It's just not going to be extremely powerful, so I wouldn't recommend high intensive gaming. But video editing has been great on this laptop. I've actually edited the last 8 months of content on this channel on this laptop, and I've even done some videos in 4K, and this thing handled it like a champ. So I was really shocked that I did that on dual core processor here for the Acer E15. And if you use something like Movie Maker, which is basic video editing software, it uses mostly the CPU, so it just renders through this like it's nobody's business. So if you look at that top right hand corner, 12 hours of battery life is what Acer is stating. I think they're overstating it here. In my experience, 8 to 9 hours in reality. Heavier things like 4K video editing in 1080p even, or Photoshop, or gaming, or running multiple things at once, you're looking at more like 5 to 6 hours on screen time. So is this laptop upgradable? And the answer to that question is yes, it's easily upgradable. All you need is a Phillips screwdriver. Remove this bay right here. You have access to an SSD bay as well as a hard drive you can stick in there. You can also add up to 32 gigabytes of RAM with 2 DDR4 16 gig sticks. Also an optical drive where you can add another hard drive, SSD, or a CD drive there. So is this the best $500 laptop? And I think yes. Dedicated graphics, backlit keyboard, 1080p display, decent battery life, Windows 10 with future updates, and a 7th gen Kaby Lake CPU. I don't think you can go wrong at this price point. All the ports you need, and USB-C. So that was my assessment. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed this content. Comment your thoughts down below. Is this the best $500 laptop to you? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.